impression of Connor was that he was going to be a very studious and dedicated student.
My first impression of Connor actually happened really early on in his high school career because he came to me wanting to help with basketball.
First impression of Connor would be, let's see, a kid that sits up front and very concerned, wanting to do a good job, but also not wanting to work that hard if he could really avoid.
Connor, the fourth-year boy, I thought he was his brother, and so he was like the little mini clone of Alec.
You're still breathing. Hold tight, 'cause the show is
Connor's always been, and I think right from when I first started to get to know him, he's always very conscientious of other people's
Connor, if I remember, we were constantly trying to make sure he got his work done at the end of the semester. So I wouldn't say slacker, but he waited to the end to get a lot of things done.
He is super engaging and like loves any kind of contest. Like when I'm their class advisor, so anytime I have to like get kids excited about like doing our Help Them to Hope contest, or we're raising money for an event. I mean, those guys are always just super great about spearheading all that camaraderie.
He's like I was as a student, might like to learn, but doesn't really want to spend a lot of time doing the writing or the hard part of it. But yeah, great.
It's always hard having not taught these guys, but the fact that he never ended up in my office was a good sign. So my guess is that he obviously behaved himself, and everything that I've ever heard from teachers about Hersink is a good student, and his dad seems frustrated, I think, with him early in his high school career, and hasn't seemed quite so frustrated at this point. So I think he's matured, and I don't think there was ever a question of intelligence. I think it has perhaps some question of application.
Turned out to be a fairly good student, but tended to put things off more than I would have expected in my initial impression.
In his first year of broadcasting, I always noticed that whenever he would have his own stuff done, he'd always be jumping in to help other people, which is kind of what he does now as a senior. One word to describe Connor, probably caring. Some of the one I would use.
I would describe Connor as motivated.
Effervescent.
If I had to describe Connor in one word, he's probably not going to like this, but I think he's really sweet. I think he's just a really sweet, like kind.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
Dawson, he's hilarious. He's always been one that's made me laugh. Even though some of the things he talks about probably shouldn't be talked about at school.
I honestly didn't know quite how to take Dawson, but then he too reached out and wanted to help with the basketball program. So because of that, I was able to get to know Dawson on a personal level.
First impression of Dawson was that he was going to be kind of a goof-off, goofy kid in class.
Well, let's see, Dawson, I knew him a long time ago. Actually, I think he was a freshman playing football.
I've known Dawson forever, so it was fun to get him up in high school. A sweet kid. He is a talker. He's going to be the best used car salesman or lawyer because he can work his magic with his words. He's very eloquent and very articulate, and a great kid. So.
Dawson is a get after it kid. He will work at it. Unfortunately, at times the results didn't always show, but he was the type that would always turn around and very conscientious about what he's doing.
Dawson, he's a good student. Yeah, Dawson, he's a good student. Yeah, Dawson, he's a good student. Yeah.
As a real world guy, current events, knowing what's going on in the world, amazing. One of my top students.
Dawson's a tough one to describe because the frustrations that came from the school were, he's so smart, I just wish he would turn stuff in. And again, I think that has been amended a little bit, and they're like, God, he's so smart, I don't know why he doesn't turn stuff in. And so I had to get past that, and because in basketball stuff, he worked diligently, showed up all the time, he was at practice.
Dawson at first did fulfill that prophecy of being a goof-off, but as time went on, he became more serious about things he was interested in.
Dawson did very well in my speech class. He's very natural at public speaking and getting up in front of his classmates and feeling comfortable giving speeches and different things like that. I think he did very well from what I remember in my speech class. Broadcasting got off to a little bit of a rough start, but he, especially late this year, he has been contributing a lot to our sports department, helping with the basketball highlight video. He did a lot of shows interviewing coaches for different sports for our Grizzly Pride show, and he was our studio manager for the program. And so, yeah, he had a little bit of a rough start his sophomore year, but he has done very well in the last couple years broadcasting.
Dawson, I think goofball, maybe positive goofball.
Gosh, Dawson in one word. I don't know if I could put Dawson in one word. Probably, yeah, he's very adaptable.
Dawson Crow in one word. Untapped potential. That's 2 words. We'll hyphenate it. If I hyphenate it, it becomes 1 word.
In one word, I would describe Dawson as. I don't want to say that one. In one word, I would describe Dawson as hopeful.
The one that comes to mind for Dawson is analytical. He's very analytical, I think. So that would be my word to describe Dawson.
Again, I think Dawson, is conscientious. You can see things matter to him, and so he takes care of business. I remember when Jonah came back to school, or the first time I saw him, it was kind of like, okay, what are we dealing with here? Just a little bit, and he ended up being that way the whole time, so it was an experience.
My first impression of Jonah was that he was very outgoing.
And I came in a little biased on Jonah just because having experienced the Piperness prior to this, I kind of had an anticipation of what Jonah was going to do. My first impression of Jonah was very extroverted, very individualized. Even when he would come back and visit, after when you guys had moved for a little while, he would come back and visit. It was always, you could very much tell that he was an individual and unique.
Well, my first impression for him is always going to be funny. Great sense of humor. When I use the word oddball, and this kind of guy, until you really get to know him, you're sort of like, what's this guy like? I don't know.
Jonah was a really interesting kid when he showed up the first day. He's talk a lot, and he's a joker. He's kind of funny, and he would always have a smile.
Super funny. Oh God, he's funny and really witty. Yeah. So that's him. Jonah, you know what? Good student his freshman year, and then when he was gone, I kind of lost track of his brain power. But he's a good student. Very smart. There's no problems in the classroom.
Piper has always been very curious about a lot of things, and I think that showed in his individuality. But even from him playing music and just the way he handles himself around school, I don't think he was a guy that was necessarily concerned about getting 100% on things, but I think he was concerned about learning.
Pretty smart kid. He was always on top of things, very conscientious, and always concerned about doing the right thing, not necessarily about getting the best grade, but doing the right thing.
Jonah was a good student. He could have probably been better if he would have studied harder, but he relied more on his charm and personality than his ability to do his academics.
Unique.
Jonah, I would describe Jonah as being out there.
Inspirational.
Funny. Yeah, he's just thinking funny. Yeah.
Sleep inside of my bed, and I'm sorry if good night is something I've ever said.
I would say Jonah is witty.
2 words, class clown. I think it was really cool that Jonah was a cheerleader, that he was willing to do that.
how to get down on the floor. Experienced in moves you can't ignore. But something about this beat that's got me hooked. Come over here and take a closer look.
Hey, I just met you, and this is crazy, but here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right at your baby, but here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right at your baby, but here's my number, so call